Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to Who Would Win and Why. And this episode, we got something a bit different. So instead of having two, real characters, this time we got characters that were actually created by YouTubers who watch my videos. Like, they created their own fan-made characters for this episode of Who Would Win and Why. I think that's freaking awesome. So on one side we got Lucas Green, who created a character named Nemesis, and on the other side we got Gage Unruh, who created a character whose name is The Shadow. Now obviously you guys won't know anything about these characters, like if your name is not Lucas Green or Gage Unruh. By the way, shout out to them. This episode would not be possible without these guys. And so I'm going to go into as much detail as I can, but I want to make sure that this episode isn't too long, like not really any longer than the other episodes that I do. So yeah, I'm going to try to go into as much detail as I can about their backstories, pretty much everything about them. These guys didn't know about each other's characters before they made their own characters. They just gave me a character and they gave me as much information as they could, and they're telling me to figure out who'd win between the two. And that's what I'm going to do. So, who'd win and why? Let's find out. So like I said, you guys know nothing about either of these characters, so I'm going to first start off with Nemesis. So Nemesis' real name is Lucas B.J. Green, and his home city is Atrocity. And what happened is, his origin story is that when he was younger, he was saved by a superhero called Matt Fury. However, from a burning building. However, his parents were still in the burning building, and Matt Fury didn't save them because he just didn't know that they were in trouble. Thus, his parents died. He became the CEO of his company, Green Corp, and he decided that he wanted to get revenge on all superheroes, saying that we don't need you, we should be doing we're responsible for our own problems, and pretty much he's trying to wipe out all the supers just as I've said. So yeah, he's pretty much just mad that the super didn't save his parents. So yeah, that's pretty much his origin story. So what happened is that in order to combat these heroes and supers, what he did is he used some of Tony Stark's tech to build his own battle armor. Now, this battle armor enhances your strength and speed to the level of, a peak physical condition human. So, basically, that's around Captain America level, like a super soldier. That's, the absolute limits of physical and mental potential, so he has, the same strength and, running levels as Captain America. Though, like all the other Iron Man suits, lifting-wise and flying-wise, it can lift up to 100 tons and can fly at supersonic speeds and is made of a titanium alloy. It also has a lot of the weapons that a regular Iron Man suit has. It's just not as, it just doesn't have the striking power or the running power as probably most of the other suits, but it has a lot of the weapons. It has repulsors, it has a unibeam, it has rockets, it has, nearly every single weapon that an Iron Man suit would have. It has the Mark 42 feature to call the pieces. It also has Ken, which is Jarvis, basically the suit's Jarvis, which is basically its onboard computer system. Overall, Lucas Green, Nemesis, he's a very intelligent person. He's a genius. He's a skilled strategist. He's a skilled prepper. Obviously, there's no prep time in these episodes, but just thought I'd mention it. So he's basically a genius in strategy and calculations. He's his own genius. So with this battle armor, he's able to go toe-to-toe with Deathstroke, the Hulk, and he even killed Wonder Girl. So that's amazing. That's with his suit, and that's before he got his full Nemesis form, which he can turn on and off whenever he wants, and it gives him a ton more powers and a massive increase in physical strength and durability. So let me tell you how he got this form. So what happened is that he was trying to basically fight off an attacker who he didn't see, who basically blinded him in one of his eyes, which he now uses as some sort of sixth sense to detect things, but we'll get to that later. So what happens is that he blinded him in one of his eyes, and basically Lucas fell into this green, was it goo or something like that? He fell into something which basically transformed his body into something that he hated most, a super. So with this, he gets a ton, and I mean a ton of abilities. He gets they do relate to his personality. Each one of his abilities relate to his personality. But honestly, if I was to go through all of them, this video would take way too long. I'm just gonna list off what he has. I might do I might go more into that when if this guy returns, which he will at one point. Nemesis, to fight my own character, but maybe I'll get into more of that then. But just for this fight, I'm just gonna say what he can do. So he has power absorption. He has I'm already starting to forget. He has bad luck. He can cause bad luck to people. He has mind control, he has teleportation, he has force fields, he can control plants and talk to plants, as well as, I believe, cats and snakes and dragons, and I think one more animal or something. He gave me a lot of information about what he has. Like I said, he's also like a great tactician. He has a lot of different powers. He also has great reflexes. He has superhuman durability. His strength levels increase so much. He can lift up to like 150 tons. And as I said, he can get out of this form if he wishes to, and go back to the battle armor if he wants. Because both of them have their own advantages and disadvantages. He also has his own forms of energy blasts and finger lasers. Like, there's a lot of abilities. I might have even forgotten like a few of what Nemesis has. It's a lot of abilities that he gets with this new thing. But his reflexes especially are like so up there. He can pretty much like dodge nearly anything if he sees it coming, and then he can like perfectly counter it. He's a very versatile combatant. This Nemesis. He has a suit if he wants. He has his own final Nemesis form. And remember, the suit alone can go up to can stand up to the Hulk. So what do you think like the Nemesis form is capable of? It's capable of a lot. So that's most of what I know for Nemesis. If I did forget something, I don't think it's going to be that important to like what's going on later on. But if I do think of anything, then I will mention it. But anyway, now let's move on to the Shadow. Now, Gage Unruh, who created the Shadow, didn't give me as much information as Lucas Green did for his character, so this won't take as long. So what happened is that there was this evil man who had a son who died, and then he tried to resurrect his son with black magic, but it accidentally turned him into a shadow. So what happens is that this guy is pretty much what he is. He's a shadow, and he can't be harmed by regular weapons or, like, just hand-to-hand combat. He can't be harmed by it. It's like you're punching nothing. However, this guy can fight back. So it's like you're fighting something that you can't fight back against. So that's pretty powerful, what else can... So basically, he's also fairly fast for a human. He can run up to 20 miles per hour. He is, I think he's somewhat skilled in hand-to-hand combat, I think. But like I said, he can't be harmed by any, like, real means. Basically, his main way of combat is that what he does is he hides in, like, a shadow or, like, a dark area, so then he can't be seen. And then what happens is that when the person steps into that area, he just snaps their neck. He's basically like a very interesting, well, not interesting, but a very quick way of killing someone and a very efficient way of killing someone. Though if he does have to fight them, he can fight them essentially without them being able to fight back. Though he does have some specific weaknesses. He does have what is he? Sorry, now I'm starting to forget because there's a lot of information I had to remember for this episode. He's weak to light, like flashlights, just sunlight, like pretty much any type of light he's weak to. However, if there is like a little bit of darkness, he can survive. But like pretty much it has to be like light completely surrounding him for a while in order for him to actually die. So it is pretty hard to kill him, but generally he has around the same stats as a regular human, though he is good at hand to hand. And remember, you're fighting someone who you can't fight back against. That's pretty impressive. And, pretty valuable when it comes to, like, being a fighter, if you can't fight back against someone. He's a shadow. He's pretty much, like, generally a shadow. Another thing is that, like, he doesn't have, like, any special powers, like flying or anything, so his neck snapping thing can really only work if the opponent is grounded. So, someone, if they're flight or, like, this, for this specific type of character, Shadow, it's, the best way to combat a character like this is if you have prep time, because then you can prep for the specific weaknesses, and if you know what his weaknesses are, then you know what to do. But because there isn't any prep time, that's gonna be a bit... This is an interesting fight. So I've really gone over the basics of each of the characters. Another thing I just forgot about Lucas's character, Nemesis, is that he also has this gene cleanser, which allows him to basically get rid of powers of other people, though we've talked about this. It will not work on Gage Unruh's character because it's a curse, it's not really powers, so that's pretty much removed from the equation. Same thing with the power absorption that I said before. So now I had to pick a winner, and believe me, it was pretty hard to pick a winner off of this. Not just because, you know, it's hard to think about like what these characters are capable of, but also, you know, I was thinking back to like, do I really want to do this episode? Because like I know that like like Lucas Green and Gage Unruh have talked to each other, and they have said that regardless of who I say wins, their characters are still awesome and they're not going to like take offense to anything. I have to really stress it to you guys that I'm not biased towards either of these guys or towards either of these characters. I have to say it this time because I'm dealing with real people's characters, obviously. So, you know, I was a bit reluctant to do this episode in the end because, you know, I'm dealing with real people's characters here, and I don't want anyone to like to get their feelings hurt or for like me to look biased or anything like that. But I did pick a winner. I do feel pretty strongly about who I think wins, though the way this person wins is a bit weird, but I'm gonna get into that in just a second. Another thing is that, like, remember, all the information that I have is only what you've given me. I don't have any more information than what you have given me, specifically talking to Lucas Green and Gage Unruh. So if you're saying something like, oh, well, actually, this person shouldn't have been able to do this to my character because of this, or blah, 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 most likely it's because you just didn't end up giving me the information. Because remember, I only have what I have. I only know what I have. If that makes any sense. But just like there's a slight chance I might have forgotten it. But you know, if I did, then again, this is all my opinion. Remember, all of this is still my opinion, even though these are fan characters. What I say isn't fact, you know, but it's still what I believe, and I do research. But anyway, that's besides the point. So now I have to think about who would win. Now there is a problem with this fight, and that is generally Lucas Green's character can't really fight back to the Shadow, you know, because like he's invisible, you know, like most likely this battle would take place during the nighttime, because, you know, it's why or at least a very dark area, because the Shadow wouldn't come out at those points. So, you know, it's hard to see him, and it's also like impossible to hit him. But the problem with the Shadow is that his neck snapping ability won't work, and he can't really. Here's why: because no matter what form he's taking, like the battle armor or the or the Nemesis form, he can't really snap his neck because he can't do it to an armored character. And he can't do it to someone who has superhuman durability. In order for that to work, you need to have like superhuman strength. And as I've said before, this guy, like he's really only his really only OP side is the invincibility. Well, not invincibility, but like that he can't really be hit. But then again, it's hard. I find it hard for me to say that the Shadow would be able to beat Nemesis because of like everything that he has. Like, he can't fight back, but he has the armor, he has superhuman durability. It's pretty much just a regular person that can't be hit going up against like a super-powered person. But then we have someone who's like a super-powered person going up against someone who he can't hit. So it's really hard for me to pick a final winner in this. So if you guys know what I mean. And like I said, no, I do have a winner, and it is to the death. But no matter who I say, I hope you guys know that you guys are both awesome, and your characters are really cool. But, you know, I have to do this episode. But I hope you guys know that I'm not trying to offend anyone by doing this. So here it goes. Because of the situation we're in right now, I have to think about what would eventually happen. Like, what are the eventualities? And so far in my head, I've come up with 3 of them. And spoiler alert, all 3 of those end up with the same person winning. And I guess I really didn't need to put a spoiler alert, like you guys were going to figure that out anyway. And that person who wins is Nemesis. Gage, I'm sorry, I personally feel that Nemesis would win. And here's why. Eventually, like, it's pretty much going to be like an ongoing fight. The Shadow doesn't have the means to put Nemesis down, but Nemesis it's going to be really hard for him to, like, he can't hit him, you know? But there are a few things that are going to happen. One thing is that one way or another, of these 3 eventualities, one way or another, Nemesis is going to figure out that his weakness is light. And here's how. There are 3 ways this could happen. One of them is simply by they just keep fighting. I know, like, this is really awkward for me to say, because this isn't something I like to do, like what's eventually going to happen, but I kind of have to do it for this fight. Like, eventually they could just keep fighting until it's daytime. And then it's going to be so clear that Gage Unruh's character, the Shadow, is weak to light. And then what could happen is that, in fact, actually, okay, so sorry, I'm getting off topic here. So what I'm saying is that, you know, eventually it's gonna like turn to daytime, and then he's gonna figure out that he's weak to light, and then he's gonna be able to, like, actually, Lucas Green has the ability, like Nemesis has light with him, believe it or not. Because remember, no matter what we're taking, he either has repulsors or he has finger lasers and energy blasts, no matter what form he's taking. And both of those, like repulsors, like beams, and lasers, I've looked it up, the definitions, they are both forms of light. So, and remember, he has his unibeam, which, you know how big Iron Man's unibeam can get. It can, be as big as a whole person, or even, like, a whole monster. So, I have no doubt that eventually, when it comes to day, Lucas Green will be able to do that. He's gonna be able to, like, because eventually he's gonna be able to find him. Again, it's eventualities. It's what's eventually gonna happen. Because the Shadow doesn't have the means to take on someone like Nemesis. But eventually Nemesis is going to be able to find out that he's weak to light just simply by it turning to day. And then he's going to be able to use his unibeam. Eventually he's going to find him. The second thing that's going to happen is that just through standard combat, he's going to try his finger lasers or his repulsors, and he's going to figure out that he hurts him by doing it. And then he's going to use his unibeam again, as I say. The third way that this could end is simply by mind control. He could, like, use his mind control to figure out, because, you know, like, even though the Shadow doesn't have a physical body, as far as I'm concerned, he still has a real mind. And like I said, like, Gage, you, like, just saying, like, you didn't tell me otherwise. You know, I have to go off from, like, my own assumptions and just what you've told me. So from what I know, his mind is still able to be mind controlled. He doesn't have any, like, mental barriers or anything. He can mind control him. He can. And, you know, that's what could happen. He could, like, basically figure out what his weakness is. He could use mind control to keep him standing there, and like, to know where he is, and then, again, use the lights on him. Again, this fight's really awkward, because it's really hard to say, like, well, this guy, like, he can't hurt him, but then this guy, like, he can't hurt him either, you know? But Lucas, basically what I'm trying to say is that Nemesis is more equipped to put the Shadow down just because he does have the weaknesses. He just might not know it yet. But eventually, from them fighting, it's going to happen either through it turning to day, through combat, through what he can do, or just by using mind control. It's going to work out that way. I really hope you guys, like, aren't disappointed with this episode just because it had to come down to that. Gage Unruh, Lucas Green, I really hope you guys are okay with this episode. I hope that this episode was entertaining enough for you. But, you know, that's eventually, the way I see it, that's eventually how it's going to go. Anyway, guys, I hope all of you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a like, comment down below if you think something else, especially like for Lucas Green and Gage Unruh, if you think something else should have happened, please comment down below and, like, tell me if I missed anything important. If I did, I might, like, do another episode or something like that, but only if I missed something, like, really, really key that could have changed something. If you guys agree, like, especially, like, you two, if you guys agree, tell me why. If you don't, tell me why. Again, I'm not biased towards or against anyone. I really hope you understand that. I can't stress that enough, especially since I'm dealing with real people's fan characters. But, you know, that I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you would be so kind as to subscribe, that would honestly make my day. That'd be awesome if you could do that. If you don't, that's okay. But if you could subscribe, thank you. I'd really appreciate that. So, guys, that was it for my video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, you two, Gage Unruh and Lucas Green, I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And next time we got Civil War. It's the season 2 finale of Who'd Win and Why. I really hope you guys are excited for it. I know I am. It's going to take some research, but I know I'm excited for it. So yeah, that's going to be next. So it's going to be in 2 parts. I don't know when exactly it's going to be up. Either part's going to be up, but I know it's going to be in 2 parts. The first part is going to be just information about all 12 characters, because there's 6 on each side. And the second part is going to be who I think would win. So it's going to be a 2-parter. I really hope you guys are excited for it. I know I am. And I hope it'll get to you guys fairly soon. But, you know, it's going to take some research. It's going to take some filming. School's starting up pretty soon. But, you know, it's going to come to you guys soon. So again, I hope you enjoy this episode, and I will see you later. See you later, and have a good night.